The Reflection Bridge. They built a new pedestrian bridge over Lake Harrow last year, clean, sleek, and designed with modern glass paneling that reflected the sky. It was supposed to be a symbol of progress in an otherwise sleepy town. People called it beautiful, but not me. My name's Peter, and I live 2 blocks from that bridge. I was one of the first to notice something wrong. It started when I walked my dog over it late one evening. The bridge was empty, the moon just bright enough to cast soft light on the glass railing. Halfway across, my dog, Scout, froze. He growled, low and long, staring down at the lake. At first I thought it was a duck or maybe a shadow, but when I looked closer I saw something impossible. Our reflection wasn't right. Scout and I stood there, still and tense. But in the water, our reflections were moving, not copying us, doing their own thing. Scout's reflection was pulling away, ears back like it was scared. And mine was smiling. I stepped away from the edge, heart racing. The moment I did, the reflection snapped back to normal, like it had never happened. I chalked it up to exhaustion, lack of sleep, something. But I never walked the bridge at night again. A few weeks later, I heard about the first disappearance. It was a teenager named Lily, last seen heading home after a school event. Security footage showed her walking across the bridge around 11:40 p.m., but she never made it to the other side. The tape shows her halfway across and then nothing. She just vanishes from frame. No sound, no splash, no struggle. Gone. Search crews dredged the lake, nothing. A memorial went up. A few people left flowers. The town moved on. But I didn't. Not after I saw what happened next. 3 nights after Lily vanished, I couldn't sleep. So I sat on my porch with a cup of coffee. From there, I can see the bridge. Just a glimpse through the trees. And I saw her, Lily. She was standing in the center of the bridge under the pale moonlight. But something was off. She wasn't moving right. Her body was stiff, arms slightly lifted at her sides like she was balancing on a tightrope. And her face, God, her face wasn't facing me. It was tilted down toward the water, fixed in a wide, unnatural grin. She took one step, and then another, and then walked off the edge. I dropped my cup and ran. By the time I reached the bridge, there was no one there. Not in the water, not on the path, but the glass railing was warm to the touch. That same week, 2 more people vanished. No bodies, no clues. Just people seen entering the bridge late at night and never coming out. I started researching. There were no legends about Lake Harrow, no curses, no old myths or drownings. But I did find one odd record, an article from 1897 about a mirror pond in the area before the lake was created. The pond was drained to form the man-made lake decades later. People back then claimed if you stared too long into its surface, your reflection would get stuck and stop following you. No one believed it. But here's where it gets weird. The bridge was built directly over the deepest part of the lake, right above where that old pond used to be. And it's made almost entirely of glass. Glass railings, glass floors, reflective surfaces everywhere. That night, I went to the bridge again. I had to know. It was 2:17 a.m. when I stepped onto the walkway. The lights flickered as I passed. I walked slowly, watching the water. My reflection was normal at first. Then it began to lag, just a little. I lifted my hand. The reflection followed. 2 seconds later, I backed away. The reflection kept waving. Then it grinned, slowly, too wide. It started moving forward while I stood still. I stumbled back off the bridge, and the reflection kept walking across the glass until it reached the end where I would have exited. It turned around and waited, like it was expecting me to return. The next morning, the town announced a temporary closure of the bridge due to unexplained structural vibrations. No one's been able to confirm what that means. But the truth is obvious to me now. The bridge is a mirror, a giant reflective trap. And whatever was buried beneath Lake Harrow, whatever was sealed in that mirror pond, it's alive in the reflections. It's watching, copying, learning. And sometimes it gets out. I've seen people in town who don't act quite right. Their movements are just a little off. Their speech just a little too perfect. Their eyes don't blink when they should. Maybe they crossed the bridge at the wrong hour. Maybe their reflections crossed instead. And now, I'm writing this while I still remember who I am, while I'm still sure that I'm the one on this side of the mirror, but sometimes I wake up at night and see a face watching me from the window. It's mine, and it's smiling. The Bridge Keeper. When I was a kid, my grandmother told me never to cross Windham Bridge after sundown. It's not the dark you should fear, she'd say. It's who tends the bridge. At the time, I thought she was just being dramatic. Everyone in the town of Wyndham Falls told stories about ghosts, curses, and ancient things buried in the soil. But none of it ever felt real. Just small-town folklore. Until last month, when my brother Matt went missing. He was last seen crossing Windham Bridge after 9 p.m. heading back from a fishing trip with friends. No sign of struggle, no dropped belongings, just gone. Police searched the woods, the river, they even drained part of the bank. Nothing. Everyone assumed he slipped and fell into the river. But I knew Matt. He was cautious, strong, and had walked that bridge dozens of times. I started digging. Turns out, Matt wasn't the first. Every decade or so, someone disappears around Windham Bridge. Always at night. Never a body, never a trace. The deeper I looked, the stranger it got. In 1911, a newspaper article described a man who vanished mid-step while crossing. In 1946, a local woman was seen walking onto the bridge but never reached the other side. Witnesses claimed she was smiling strangely before she vanished. In 1983, a local boy disappeared, and all that was found was a single boot placed neatly at the center of the bridge. Same bridge, same time of day, same outcome. I decided I needed to see it for myself. So on the 28th of April, exactly 1 month after Matt went missing, I went to Windham Bridge at 8:50 p.m. The bridge itself isn't much. Wood and rusted steel, stretching about 300 feet across a gorge with a quiet river below. It groaned when I stepped onto it like it was breathing. I stood at the edge, flashlight in hand, and waited. Nothing happened at first. Then just before 9 p.m. I saw someone. A figure, tall, thin, and standing at the very center of the bridge. I hadn't heard him approach. No footsteps. No sound. Just there. I raised my flashlight. He wore an old conductor's uniform, like something out of the 1800s. Long coat, gloves, a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed his face. "Excuse me," I called out. "Did you see my brother out here? His name's Matt." He didn't answer. He just raised one hand and pointed down. I looked over the side of the bridge. The water shimmered in the moonlight. Then I looked back, and the man was right in front of me. I stumbled back. He didn't move. "Who are you?" I asked. He took off his hat. His face was featureless. No eyes, no nose, just a slit of a mouth. "I keep the balance," he said in a voice that sounded like wind through hollow wood. "A toll paid in silence, a life for a passage." I didn't understand. "Where's my brother?" I demanded. He tilted his head. "Gone. Passed through." "You took him?" He nodded. Fury surged through me. "Why? What are you, some kind of ghost? Demon?" "I am the keeper. I take one every cycle. That is the price." "No, I'm not letting this continue. You cannot undo what has been done." I reached for my phone to call for help, but he reached faster. A cold, unseen force slammed me against the railing. Then he whispered, "Unless you choose." I gasped. Choose? A replacement, an offering. Bring one to the bridge willingly, at the right time. Let them cross, the balance will be restored, your brother returned. I stared at him, horrified. "You want me to sacrifice someone?" He smiled. Then everything went black. I woke up the next morning on the forest floor. No sign of the man, no memory of walking off the bridge, just the same thought echoing in my head. Choose. Over the next few days, I tried to forget, to rationalize. Maybe it was a dream, a hallucination from grief. Then I got a call. They'd found Matt, alive, wandering near the town limits, confused and barely able to speak. Doctors said he was dehydrated and suffering memory loss, but otherwise fine. When I visited him, he looked at me with haunted eyes. I saw something, a man. No face, I was somewhere dark, like waiting. I didn't tell him what I knew, but I knew what it meant. The keeper had released him, which could only mean one thing. Someone else had taken his place. I went home, checked the news. A woman named Ellen Chambers, local librarian, had gone missing the previous night. She'd last been seen walking her dog near the bridge. No body, no sound, gone. And here's the twist. I never chose anyone. I never offered a sacrifice. But I did tell Ellen about the bridge a few days prior. I warned her not to go near it after dark. She laughed, said she didn't believe in fairy tales. And the keeper heard me. He found her. My words were enough. So now I don't speak of the bridge. I don't warn anyone. I don't tell them the truth. Because every time I do, someone goes missing, and the keeper smiles. The Engineer's Mark. In the rural town of Harwich, there's a bridge that everyone crosses, but no one talks about. It's called the Danforth Overpass. Plain unremarkable with its dull concrete shoulders and chipped white lines. Built in 1979, it stretches across the rail line that runs north to south through town. Locals drive it every day. Nobody ever suspects it of anything. But I know different because my father built it, and he died because of it. My name's Ben Travers. I'm a structural engineer now, like Dad. I took the same classes, read the same manuals, even interned at the same firm. But I didn't start this job because I loved bridges. I started because of what happened the year I turned 9. That was 2002. I remember Mom waking me up in the middle of the night, crying. She kept muttering, the bolts weren't supposed to shear like that, over and over again. Dad had been overseeing maintenance on the Danforth Overpass that week. A late night call had come in about strange vibrations reported by freight train engineers. He left the house in his orange vest and hard hat and never came back. According to the report, he was inspecting the supports underneath when the central span buckled just slightly, barely enough to jar the framework. But it sent him crashing down onto the rail tracks where an unscheduled train struck him. An accident, that's what they said. But here's the part that stayed with me. Dad wasn't found right away. And when they did recover his body from the train yard 2 miles down, he wasn't wearing his safety harness or his hard hat, and his boots, steel-toed and heavy, were missing entirely. No one could explain that. Years passed. I finished school, got my degree. I told people it was because I wanted to follow in Dad's footsteps. That was only half true. The other half, I wanted to go back to Danforth. I needed to know why he died. In 2021, I finally got assigned to a state-funded integrity audit of old infrastructure in Harwich. When I saw Danforth Overpass on the list, I requested it immediately. The bridge was mostly unchanged. Same length, same concrete expansion joints, same clunky guardrails. It even smelled the same, damp and metallic. I reviewed the old blueprints. Nothing looked off. But when I went under the bridge, everything felt wrong. There were marks along the support beams that didn't match any known repair work. Circular impressions in the steel, spaced exactly 8 inches apart, like clamps or teeth. I scraped off the rust around one of them and found something underneath, a number with symbols. It was engraved in perfect symmetry, not sprayed, not stenciled, like it had always been there, hidden under layers of age and corrosion. I checked the inspection logs. Nothing about engravings, nothing about those impressions. Later that week, I went back at night with a flashlight and a climbing harness. I had to see more. That's when I found the hatch. Yes, a hatch. On the underside of the bridge, recessed between the central beams, was a steel panel with no latch, no hinge, flush with the surrounding concrete, but clearly not part of the original design. I tapped it, hollow underneath. That's when I heard the knock. One sharp knock. From the inside, I froze. Then a second knock. Slower, deliberate. I dropped the flashlight. It clattered onto the rocks below. In the dim light, I saw movement from the base of the hatch, a thin seam of darkness opening, just a crack. Then it slammed shut. I left. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't file anything in my report. I told myself I imagined it. That stress, grief, and nostalgia were messing with my head. But a week later, I got an email from a woman named Darlene Mays, the daughter of a construction worker who had helped build Danforth Overpass. "I heard you're reviewing the old bridge," she wrote. "My dad was never the same after that project. He used to scream in his sleep about something they buried in the beams, said the blueprints weren't right." I asked for more. She sent photos, journal pages, sketches. One showed the same symbols I'd found engraved. Then she sent the clincher, a photo from 1978. The bridge under construction, there were 5 workers in the photo. The one at the far left? My dad. Long before he had any business being there. He would have been 17. I asked her how that was possible. She didn't reply. I dug deeper into town records, engineering firm documents, even death certificates. Turns out 6 workers went missing during Danforth's construction, all unexplained. No police reports filed. Just quiet payouts to their families and reassigned contractors. It was a cover-up. That hatch I found? It wasn't part of the original build. It was added during the last month of construction. Quietly, without permit, by my dad. I went back one last time. 2 a.m., middle of winter, flashlight, Rope sledgehammer. This time I broke it open. Inside was a shaft, narrow, leading into the heart of the bridge's underside. I dropped in. 10 feet down, the walls changed. No longer steel or concrete, but something older. Slick. Organic. The air buzzed. At the end of the corridor was a chamber. No lights, no breeze, just silence. Then I saw them. Shoes. Dozens of pairs. Boots, sneakers, loafers, laid out neatly in a circle. And in the center, a body. It was wearing my dad's vest. His face was intact, preserved almost. But his eyes were open. Still alive? No. But something worse. He wasn't alone. All around the walls were embedded faces. Open mouths, hollow eyes. Like they'd been melted into the surface. I stumbled back. Turned to climb out. Then I heard the whisper, Ben. A voice I knew. I ran. I sealed the hatch behind me with concrete. I wrote my report. I marked the bridge unsafe. I made up corrosion data, gave it a failing grade. The state decommissioned it. Last month they demolished it. And now I wait. Because every night since the day that bridge came down, I find my boots outside my door, soaked, and facing the road.